Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to My Expanded Universe, a show where I go through the entire EU in chronological order as best I know how. Folks, we are going to talk more about the X-Wing Rogue Squadron series, and we're going to talk about the next 4 issues in this series, issues 9 through 12. Now, this is of course written by Michael Stackpole, and this time partnering up with him is Jan Stranad. I don't really know how you pronounce that, but if that name sounds familiar, Jan, I'm assuming it's a girl. If it's a guy, I apologize, but Jan actually wrote some of the Droids comic book series that I've talked about previously. So Jan is now helping out Stackpole in some capacity with this next story arc, and I think it's called Battleground Tatooine, because in this series, the Rogue Squadron go back to Tatooine because they hear that Jabba has a hidden cache of weapons available. Ooh, weapons of mass destruction. So Rogue Squadron is sent to go and find it and get it, you know, because they need any help. The rebellion needs any help they can that can, you know, pack a punch against the Empire. Good idea for a storyline, very interesting. So far, the series has been flying smoothly and I've been enjoying it. Now, I have to stop right here because I'm going to get to spoilers. And I really want to talk about the spoilers. And that kind of sucks because, but before I get to it, let me just go ahead and say, before we get to spoilers, Battleground Tatooine, great storyline. I think it really pays off. We already know that there's a lot of infighting going around with all Jabba's goodies. This was a hidden weapon. It's not just sitting around his palace somewhere. So it makes sense that that could still be around. And what happens at the end is phenomenal. Okay, so now let's get to spoilers here. Bib Fortuna comes back. Yes, when last we left him, it was the Star Wars Tales, Tales from Jabba's Palace of the days of the days annoyances. These I can't remember the exact title right now, but it ends with him, his brain getting cut out and put into a brain spider. Well, guess what? Stackpole, that story had already come out. Stackpole wants to connect the comic books with the novels and says, okay, here's Bib Fortuna, spider, you know, Bemore Monk, spider version, lingering around. And there's another Twi'lek called Frith Olin, who is basically the villain of the story arc here. And he knows it's Bib Fortuna in that jar, and he's torturing him and laughing and everything. But in the end, Bib Fortuna gets the final laugh as he takes the body of Frith Olin. You know, they insert his brain into the Twi'leks, and then Frith Olin's goes into a jar. And now Bib Fortuna, albeit in a different body, is back, baby. And he's ready to take back, you know, the crumbled pieces of Jabba's empire. Now, sadly, the comic book does not tell you what happens with Bib Fortuna afterwards. But for me, I was super excited to see that. Because you got to understand, I'm reading both the books and the comic books at the same time. And of course, Tales from Jabba's Palace was real big for me. And that Bib Fortuna story is one of my absolute favorites. So when I saw that they were doing, you know, continuing a storyline in the comic books, I thought that was great. I loved it. Again, here we go with continuity. From the X-Wing Rogue Squadron books, they feel like, hey, if I can tie this in, let's tie this in together. Let's tie this story, Bib Fortuna story, and let's pass it on to the next person. If someone else wants it, they can tie it into their story as well. I love that. This is what makes the expanded universe great, in my opinion. That you see, and it's not even the main story. Bib Fortuna's story is within the details of all these backstories. I love that too. That they have these overall story arcs that aren't really, the character isn't focused on, but you push that character in, you know, to one direction. Another author may pick up the ball years later and move them over here, and so on and so forth. But I enjoy that. That's one of the things that make the expanded universe so imaginative. And to be honest, the most creative minds went into this story because it takes a lot of creativity to connect these stories together in a way that makes sense and is enjoyable. It is good storytelling is exactly what it is. And whether Stackpole had the idea or Jan Stranad had the idea, or they both did, and they both said, hey, how can we get this to work out? Bravo to both of them. Battleground Tatooine isn't the best that the series got, but it is one of the better arcs, and not just because of Rogue Squadron, but because of this other side story. And like I said, I was more interested in, Bib Fortuna. What's he going to do now? Oh, he's not in the next series? Darn. But we'll follow Adventures of Rogue Squadron, and maybe one day find out what's going on with Bib Fortuna. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about that because I love the connections. I love connections in the expanded universe. You can see it in my face, hear it in my tone. It gets me super excited when I talk about it because I've always felt this way from the moment I read it. Whenever I see connections, I get excited and I want to tell someone, hey, now I can tell the world. Yay for me. All right, folks, that's all the time I have for now. See you next time with another video.